Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another weekly DaaS Sales Workshop. I don't know if it's just me or my audience is on this workshop, but at least to start. I know people keep joining throughout, but I was going to say, are they getting smaller and smaller? I have to up my game and bring more value. Challenge accepted. That's what I'm going to do then. But
Awesome.
Great, great. So I have some exciting stuff to cover, a bit of a sales lesson and some new stuff that I think are really, really going to help people. And of course, I'm going to leave a lot of time toward the end. I blocked out at least 20 minutes for a Q&A with you guys. So before I dive into that, did anybody hop onto this with any specific question or anything they wanted me to address, or maybe something they're going through, an objection, or how they're pricing it or positioning it? Just let me know by putting a 1 in the chat, or just using the hand raise emoji if you know how to do that here on Zoom, and I will call on you. Otherwise, I will just save the 20 minutes at the end for a Q&A. But I always like to start it off and ask people, because I know certain people are hopping on for a specific question or want to get something addressed. So Monica, you have something right off the bat. Let's start with you before I dive into what I want to cover here today. Go right ahead.
I sure do. Thanks so much. I am still struggling trying to just create a very simple offer for people who need an audience list. So I want to use Audience Lab. I want to create, audiences and sell those audiences to people, who need them. And I want to get the people from Audience Lab, but I need it to be super simple. And I just am in like this brain fog of, I've looked at you sent me a couple samples of some things that people are doing, and they're not just about the list. They're about a whole bunch of other things. And so I just need like, what is the simplest way to create a quick landing page? I need to create a quick audience. Like I need a win, and I need a win yesterday. So I'm like,
Okay.
okay, I'm in gimbal lock.
Got it. What I would say, and you're talking specifically to building lists and selling lists, nothing to do with the pixel or anything else, correct?
Correct. That's it. Keep it
Gotcha.
simple.
So what I would do is I would create a list and go back to the problem that it's solving and talk about the outcomes and the end results. So I would start off with something about on my landing page. Are you an existing advertiser that keeps seeing rising cost per lead and acquisition? What if I could show you one tactic overnight to drop your cost per lead and acquisition by anywhere from 25 to 40% and ultimately increase the profitability of your ad campaigns? Boom. Like that would be my main one simple thing, and the point I would keep hitting home. People already spending on advertising, seeing rising costs and having trouble with the same profitability they used to see in their ads. Boom, I build you an in-market targeted audience, run your creative to that, and almost overnight, your cost per lead and acquisition is going to drop by anywhere from 25 to 40%, as opposed to Facebook's, native in-platform targeting parameters. So that might be a little complex, but I think what I started with at the top, advertisers already spending money on campaigns, seeing rising cost per lead and acquisition. What if we could show you the one secret sauce or the one tactic that's missing to ultimately not change anything, your creative, your spend, and drop your cost per lead and acquisition almost overnight? I don't know how that wouldn't create some quick intrigue and get the point across without having to put a bunch of mumbo jumbo in there, for lack of a better phrase. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Any questions
Yeah.
on that, Monica?
That's awesome. And the other I do have a question. Now,
Sure.
I know that some of my clients are using the list just for emails or for cold calling. In that, is it too much in that one landing page to talk to people who are using it for ads, cold calling, and emails? Should I have three separate landing pages or
No,
say,
no, you shouldn't. And a great question. So to answer, no, you shouldn't have three separate ones. And no, it's not wrong. And I should have probably expounded upon that. I'm just personally thinking my best clients and the people that are going to get the quickest and best results with the data are people that are willing to spend and loop it into their ad campaigns. Now, that's not to say it doesn't work phenomenal in email, SMS, through social media marketing. If you guys have gone and looked, and I recommend you do this in the school community in the win column. Um, just within the last 14 days, Brandon Collins has posted 3 different case studies, none of them using ads, all for clients, I believe, and I know at least one or two with a following of under 1,000 people to start, so not big brands. And he's showing how he's driving in 10x ROIs, bookings, $60,000 closed deals in B2B lending. One was in, geez, I can't remember all the niches and industries, but I've been posting a couple on my Facebook, just showing people some of the results that some of our clients are seeing. But Brandon Brandon is a really good example of knowing how to utilize the data to get results outside of ads and even outside of email in some cases, and showing how LinkedIn has a little more effectiveness. He starts with an email, actually. And Monica, I would recommend going and look back through some of these posts later today or something. He starts a lot of these with an email and then drives them over to LinkedIn, gets them to follow the page. Then they're constantly seeing his content, what he's posting about. And that drives in bookings, builds up trust, trust in the market, all that stuff. So those are some other good examples. But to your point, I kind of got on a little sidebar talking about Brandon. I would still lead off, and my headline would be advertisers, saving money on campaigns. And then right after my initial, maybe my top 2 or 3 sentences, or I wouldn't go as far as a paragraph. That's why I'm saying sentences, but my top 2 or 3 lines of messaging, then I would say, if you're not running ad campaigns and your acquisition channel is primarily email or social media marketing outreach or SMS, our lists also work there. Boom, boom, boom. So I would tie it in, but I would still start with the advertisers because those are going to be your best clients. Those are going to be the people that'll see quickest results. And I think if we're going from a more low fulfillment DaaS model agency where we're not doing all the full stack marketing side of things, we really want to be targeting people that have advertising budgets, media buyers, etc. So I still think our messaging, we want to hit our ideal client. And yes, we can still work with those tier 2 and 3 people that are, using other avenues. And of course, we're going to come into some people that are using multiple. Like if you were to come and sell to Audience Lab before we were a data company, right? Let's just say we are another company, but we're using paid ads, we're using cold email, we use social media marketing outreach, we use SMS marketing. So there's all kinds of ways you could use it for a more established company, right? But I still think the low-hanging fruit and the ideal clients are going to be spending money on ads. Does that all make sense?
Totally. And then when I look for the people and I create a list inside Audience Lab for, this audience, I would just type in, media buyers, paid ads, people who are doing SMS, people who are doing cold email, and then put maybe like how much money they're spending. So finding people who are actually spending a
Well,
certain amount.
that's one way you could go about it. That's not what I would advise. I would advise going after a niche or an industry specifically and looking for business owners. Let's just say we're looking in e-commerce or software as a service, whatever. Let's pick 1 or 2 markets that we want to penetrate, and then let's set establishments of prerequisites. So let's just say I picked e-com. I want e-com businesses that have been in business 2+ years and do over 7 figures in revenue. I know by happenstance that those customers have an advertising budget and a media buyer. So I'm not necessarily looking for advertiser and media buyer directly in my audiences, because if I am, and for you, that means you're selling more to agencies and more to similar people like you, where some of them already know about or have this. I'm not saying all of them, it's still a minority, but I think it's a harder audience to penetrate than just going after established e-com businesses that just by, again, some of those prerequisites, we're going to know they have the foundations. Or I might go after software companies, at least 2.5 years in business with a minimum of 15 team members. I know they're running some type of marketing. So again, I'm setting the prerequisites more upon picking a niche or an industry. Then let me pick 3 or 4 prerequisite qualifications. Again, they usually fall down to how many years has this company been in business? How many employees or team members do they have? How much revenue do they run at a year? Like those 3 or 4 things. And if I can just set some solid foundations, I kind of know every company that has these in place is going to be spending money on ads. Does that make sense?
Totally.
And that's how I would go about building my list. I would start with an in market and say e-commerce, and then I would vet by how long they've been in business, how many employees, how much revenue, how much traffic, et cetera, et cetera. And I would know almost every time I got on a call with one of those companies, they're going to have those foundations I'm looking for without me really having to say, hey, do you have a media buyer? Like, right when I get on the call with that type of company, it's like, hey, Monica, so looking up your business, looks like you've been in business a few years. Looks like you guys specialize in this product or service. Tell me more about your average order value and how you acquire clients. So I would start with that right off the bat. And I already know almost every time, well, Ray, our acquisition funnel is a combination of paid ads, email marketing, and using a private, school group, let's just say a free community. And I'll be like, okay, great. So with the ads and the email, I think is where we can help first. And we can also get some people off this list into your free community and get some nurture sales there. So we can get you some quick wins right away from ads and emails, and then build a nurture and grow your community. If we could do all those for your business, Monica, would that help you out?
Yeah,
Exactly. So that's I already know when I'm getting on the call and I just lead into what they're doing for their current acquisition strategy. I know it's going to kind of fall right in the ballpark of where we can help.
perfect. Thank you.
Excellent. So hopefully that simplifies it. So that simplifies your message and your marketing. You also said something that I didn't touch on right off the bat. You said, hey, Ray, I need a really simple offer. Here's my really simple offer. Once somebody has interest and they've read that headline or the messaging that we just talked about, and they click for more information or to book a call or whatever you're doing in your funnel there, my simple offer is $750 per list and refreshed every, let's just say 15 days, because I generally give 2 fresh new lists to clients per month. And then if they want more, larger companies, they might buy more. But just a very basic, simple offer is $750 per list. You then take it into your marketing campaigns, embed it in, show me the results, and hit me up when you want a second list and a third list. So you can make it that simple.
Okay, and then I would put in that list, first name, last name, email, and phone number.
First, last, I consider that one. So let's say name, first and last name, email, phone number, and we want to give them the hashed profile, the hashed SHA-256 file, which is the advertising profile. So that's what I always tell people. And again, let's talk about this so everybody's on the same page, because I'm sure you're not the only one with these questions, Monica. It's great you're asking, but I'm sure some other people on the call have these questions as well. That's more of the standard information I give back in a resolved identity. So now we're talking 2 separate things, pixel and audience. So I want to gear this back toward the audience, which you're focusing on. I build those custom to the client. So I sit down with each client, or I have them send me over, hey, Monica, tell me your average ideal buyer. Well, Ray, I sell in the state of Texas and these 5 counties to homeowners with over a 650 credit score. So now I'm going to go in and get a list of people within these zip codes, these counties. I'm going to limit it to Texas, and I'm only going to go within my parameters of people that are homeowners and credit score above 650. So again, in-market audience, I personally, generally, there's always going to be outliers, but generally speaking, I build those always custom, whereas pixel resolutions, I tell them the standard resolved identity comes with these 4 criteria. If you want extra parameters, I charge a little extra for that. So I want to differentiate the 2. But when it comes to building an audience, it's always going to be custom to their ideal client. So the more information we can get about location, budget, wealth, income, homeowner or not, help, we can work with some companies that want to advertise as smokers. We can find if they're smokers or not. We might work in automotive where we can get the VIN number of the vehicle that they're driving and look it up and say, okay, this person's lease comes up in 3 months. Let's hit them up with preemptive marketing. Hey, Monica, it looks like you are a driver of a 2022 Malibu and your lease is coming up. Did you ever think about your next vehicle? We have this special promotion where we take lease trade-ins and give you a 5K discount. Boom, boom, boom. So again, I'm looking for the parameters of what are the different things that they can identify their ideal buyer. And then I go build the list custom.
Perfect. So I
The
don't tell
more we can,
necessarily
the more
what's in that
parameters, the
list.
more keywords, the more intent, the more we can dial that in and make it about their ideal client. And ideally, again, an ideal client is a bottom of funnel, ready to go person rather than a top of funnel that needs information and nurture. And not to say normally we're going to get kind of an influx of all those people, top, middle, and bottom of funnel. But the closer I can get to that ideal buyer in the bottom of the funnel, the more, again, data and parameters I know about their ideal buyer, the better I can build that list for them. So I think that's where a lot of people go wrong when they're making their audience lab list for their clients. They just say, hey, my client Susie wants to work with agency owners, and they go pull up a bulk list of 500,000 different agencies. That's not very specific. Like, yeah, the data is who they're looking for, but 400 of those 500,000 people probably don't fit in their budget, the niche, the industry, don't have the problem they solve. Like, we didn't dive deep and we just gave them a general list of one keyword or one market. And again, that's the difference between building what I would say a kind of half-ass audience as opposed to a very proficient, efficient, effective audience. And they're going to perform night and day when the client goes to use that in any type of marketing. I don't care if they're putting in ads, email, SMS, LinkedIn, doesn't matter. If our audience is kind of half-ass, it's going to perform half-ass when it goes into their marketing.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Okay, guys, so I'm going to also leave time for a Q&A at the end, but I have a lesson that I kind of prepared and some stuff I've been going over. Some leads back to a couple previous lessons, which I'll allude to, but I know some of you guys didn't see those, so I'll make sure to recover everything. And just before that, as I do every week, let me just, 1 second here. I don't know why the waiting room went away. I just want to make sure nobody's sitting in there. Okay, there it is. For some reason, when I brought up chat, my waiting room disappeared. Okay, nobody's waiting there. So, guys, as I do every week, really, really quickly, I know some of you guys are newcomers. Some of you guys may not have yet seen this. This is the resource I give away every week on this workshop to make sure everybody has it. You should have also received this if you ever booked a one-on-one THO call with me. If you enrolled into the DaaS program, we do a one-on-one call, and this comes in your recap email as well. But these are all the resources you need to build your DaaS agency sales process. And I always say this every time, whether I'm building my DaaS agency sales process from scratch, or whether I came into Audience Lab and DaaS having an existing agency and a sales process. And I think there's some things in here that can make some subtle tweaks to make it perform better, right? Every sales process, we look at a few core key metrics that matter, I always call them, show rate, qualified rate, close rate, right? All those things. So a dialed in sales process helps us increase those metrics that matter and run more efficiently. So again, number one in this document is a Google Doc showing you the exact sales process I recommend building out, the one I built here for our company and the one I built for between 15 and 20 companies that hired me at my other company, the Sales Lab, to go in and revamp their sales team. I always build out the same sales process. Now, is there little subtle differences about within the process? Yes, always, but the process doesn't change. And the 6-step micro commitment sales process that we've covered on prior sessions is covered here. Number 2 is a tutorial where I go over that document and just screen share and show you what that looks like in real time in our sales process. Number 3 is a Google Doc showing you some of our creative guys, about 9 of the ad campaigns we're currently running to land clients day in and day out, some of our most effective email messaging, some of the short form creative and copy we've come up with that we've seen have real success when doing cold email or cold outreach on LinkedIn or social media. Again, I recommend a 2 sales call process in number 1 and 2. When you go through those, call number 1, what I call your triage call. Here's your script, your framework already built out for you, tried and tested. Call number 2, your sales or demo call. Again, here's your script, your framework already built out for you. Number 6, a copy of the authority pitch deck we give you guys where nothing is branded to Audience Lab. You download it, make your own copy, swap out the first slide with your own branding, image, whatever, and then just a short pitch deck where on the sales call, you can demonstrate and show your prospects, this is how we find your audience. This is how we then loop it into marketing campaigns or advertising campaigns. This is how we resolved your bounced identity. Again, we give you about a dozen or half dozen, I should say, different case studies in here that you can leverage and also share as you're starting to build up your own. And I have plenty more outside of this deck. I just didn't want to, load a pitch deck with 100 case studies. I think once we go too far on the case studies, we really get away from the actual value and the problem we're solving. So I've always found showing somebody between a half a dozen and a dozen is usually pretty sufficient, which is why that's kind of what we limited it to there. Number 7, just a tutorial more about the pixel specifically, the identity resolution tool. How do I price it? How do I assess if a client's a good fit for this? So that's what I cover in that tutorial. And you guys will see I use what's called our pixel forecast calculator spreadsheet or calculator sheet, whatever you want to call it. If you guys haven't seen that or used it, it's a great tool to really assess if a client's going to be a good fit, a home run, a significant ROI if we go pitch the pixel. That way we know before we ever pitch it or price it that there's already going to be a win and a big chance for a home run. And this tutorial shows you exactly how to use that. And the forecast calculator is linked down in the description of that specific tutorial. Number 8, about 20 or so of my sales calls, recordings, selling data. Again, pick up anything from me, terminology, verbiage, my approach, my style, whatever you can get from my sales call recordings that you can kind of embed into your own style, I think will be really, really helpful for a vast majority of you guys. So what I'm going to do, guys, for anybody that hasn't seen that, and I know some of you guys on every week, this is totally redundant, but I have to do it every time. Linked in the chat here in Zoom, I just dropped the link to a Google Doc. That's exactly what I just went over. So if you either don't have it or lost it or don't have it saved, there's a link to it again right there for anybody who needs it. Cool. So now what I want to cover today, and it's I'm not going to say ironic, but it's a little coincidental, and it kind of ties in with Monica's question earlier and a little of some of my answers and what I was talking about. So I kind of knew that led into this lesson as I was answering her, but I'll make those analogies or, those references as I go. But I want to start with, I think a lot of us in DaaS, in Audience Lab, a lot of us, data as a service agencies, and I know there's only a handful on this call, so I'm also speaking to anyone that might be watching the recording later or whatever. I feel like, and I think you guys can agree with me. I'd like to hear if anybody disagrees with me, to be honest, that there's probably other people out there, service providers, agencies, whatever that is, Facebook ads, other data providers. I guarantee you, there's other people, agencies, and service providers out there with a, I don't know which is the better word, so I'll use both, either a worse or an inferior product to what you have here at Audience Lab to offer, that are probably closing more deals and charging more money than you. And why that is usually a couple of reasons. Number one, I think anytime we're either a boutique or a startup agency or not very well known, we're kind of the overlooked or the irrelevant person. And I think when we come from that positioning, we tend to focus a lot more on speaking about and talking about. And usually, why I'm saying this, it's usually over talking and over explaining so much about our great solution and our great service and our great software and all that. And we focus a little less on what's in it for me from the prospect's point of view. We kind of go away sometimes from solving problems, from results and outcomes, and just talk too much about the nitty gritty, where the data is sourced, how granular we can get. Like all that stuff's great when you have to get into it. But I find very rarely, and again, go back and challenge me on my word. I just gave you a link with 20 of my sales calls. See how many times I dive deep into where the data is sourced or the 18th parameter we can extrapolate. I don't talk about that stuff. I talk about surface level, or I shouldn't even say surface. I should say larger level, again, results, outcomes, and solutions to the mainstream problems that we know our clients face. So when you start to be able to talk more like that, shorter, more concise, keep it on a high level about results, outcomes, solutions, and ultimately solutions that stem from problems, when we can basically make our sales call, our verbiage, our messaging all around those 3 or 4 components, it tends to bring us more in a position of the expert, where, like, again, I would say a lot of business owners, when we start out, we're kind of that overlooked, scrappy guy that nobody's ever heard about, and we come out of nowhere and try to deliver results and be a hero, and that's great. But what you want to turn into and what you want to position yourself as the more relevant business owner, the expert, and you offer a valuable product and a valuable service, and you charge a premium for that. When you can kind of make that, I don't want to say it's adjustment, more of a transition and a growth in all of our businesses from Miss Irrelevant or Mr. Irrelevant, like nobody's ever heard of me, I'm just coming up, to actually I'm relevant and I'm the person you need to speak to solve this ad cost problem or this bounce traffic problem or whatever it is, right? Like when you can go from irrelevant to relevant, it really changes how you can package and position offers. And the way to do that, and where I said this is going to tie back to a previous lesson, guys, all offers fall in one of 4 categories, and each one of these is a different level of urgency and of conversion. So if you want to have the offer I'm talking about where you're relevant and you're expert, you at least have to be a number 3 or 4 tier offer that I'm just going to run through. So number 1 is the must be nice offer, right? You're not really solving a big problem. It's more of a just convenience thing, like DoorDash, for instance, right? DoorDash is a great service. Must be nice to have somebody that can just deliver food to my house and I don't have to get it. Is it essential? Is it a keeping me up at night at problem that I'm going to think about? Is it a bleeding out problem that I got shot in the arm and my arm's bleeding and there's only one solution? Go to the emergency room now. No, it's none of those. It's a must be nice. It's a convenience offer. So that's number 1. Those, again, are usually lower ticket, and usually our messaging is just about the convenience, and we're only looking for the people that want that, right? Number 2, I would say, is an annoyance offer. There's a little more demand with annoyance than convenience, meaning I'm walking through the forest on my weekly walk and I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. That's annoying as hell, right? I'm slapping left and right. It's an annoyance offer. I'm probably going to run out and load up on some bug spray or some repellent or something. So that's a little stronger of a problem it's solving, and it has a little more stick factor. Each one of these levels makes your offer more and more sticky. Now, level 3 is what I sell and what you guys sell, and I can guarantee that because I've sold so much of it and I know these offers in this market. And number 3 is where we want to be. Now, number 4 offers 1 level up. These are hard and few and far between, and I'll get to that in a minute. Not everybody, and I don't think, actually, I know I've never had one. I've worked with some clients that have them, and they're absolutely great. But level 3 is a keep you up at night or an insomnia offer. That's a problem that the business owner lays down at night and puts their head on the pillow and goes, shit, how am I going to make payroll this week if my ad costs keep rising? Or, I've looked at my data spreadsheets for the last 8 months and they close their eyes and they're seeing the graph, the squiggly lines in their head. And they're like, cost per lead and cost per acquisition just keeps rising. I spend so much money and effort to drive people to my website, but only 2% of people convert. I wish I could get those other people. These are are all things they think about that literally keep them up at night, especially for business owners that are actually having and diagnosing this problem. Now, we have another tier of business owners that still suffer from this, but they just don't put enough emphasis on it, or maybe they just aren't aware enough about the problem. And sometimes that's what I talk about in my sales process of assigning a new frame. It's like, hey, Mr. Customer, you thought this was the problem. It's really this. This is the deeper or the root problem to your surface level problem of not enough sales, not enough conversions, whatever it is. The actual root problem is this. We're not targeting the right audience, so our costs are way out of whack. So even when we do close a deal, the cost per acquisition versus the average order value, they don't cancel out to a profit. What if I can show you how? So that math always means for every dollar you put into the ad machine, $2 come out the back end, and it's more predictable and consistent. Now, Bob, Susie, Joe, right? I'm just using a name when I'm talking to a client. If I could show you a consistent, predictable way to have a consistent positive ROI in your ad campaigns, would that make your business more successful? And then I just sit back and shut up. So again, just the phrasing of this and understanding this. Now, you guys and anybody selling data as a service, anybody selling in market, very high. Again, I always use these phrases, so just keep note of this. You guys will hear this in probably every workshop of mine. But giving people first-party, intent-driven, in-market data into their marketing campaigns is going to make a big difference and solve a big problem, and that's the one we all have access to. Now, offer number 4 is what I call, and again, I made the analogy to bleeding out offer, right? If you get shot in the leg or the arm today, do you have any other options than to go to the emergency room right now and get that taken care of? Not really. I mean, you might be some crazy at-home doctor that knows how to patch a gun wound and sew yourself up and maybe go put one of them hot irons on it like you see Commando or Rambo do when they serve themselves. But that's not the average human, and that's not me, right? If I got a gunshot or a stab wound, I have one solution: go to the emergency room. And this is a bleeding out problem. If I don't get it solved now, I'm going to bleed out and die, right? And what I mean by offers like that, I think I gave the analogy, and there's a few, but I gave the analogy of like a CPA or an accountant working with business owners that are in some type of tax potential penalty where their business is going to get shut down. They're going to be taken to jail, right? It could be a very simple message you send. Hey, Joe, I know you're a business owner that struggled with some tax problems in the past, and you may be facing some repercussions. If you could book with us and give us 30 minutes, I can show you how you can eliminate these tax problems and make sure you never serve a day behind bars. That's a pressing problem that this guy sees, especially if they're urgent, right? This guy needs solved now, or he's going to literally serve jail time or lose his business. Like those are super urgent. And again, I could give multiple examples, but these businesses are kind of few and far between where it's like, hey, if I don't get this problem solved, I'm going to die. I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to starve, right? We're not going to all have those. So even that number 3 offer that keep you up at night or insomnia offer, which you all have, is a strong positioning to charge high ticket prices and be very, very confident and have conviction when you say your price and the value you're delivering, because you are, right? So that's what I wanted to kind of start with. And this all comes back to, even for our less established businesses, that I'm still Miss or Mr. Irrelevant. If you position and frame yourself right in terms of the problem you solve, the solution you provide, the results and outcomes you deliver, you can confidently charge what you're worth and higher to your pricing for your services. So that's kind of the first part of the lesson that I wanted to cover, which goes right back into, and you'll see in some of my kind of little back and forth here where I'm role playing scenarios or giving you guys some word tracks I would either use in my messaging or on my sales calls. One of my biggest mottos, and something that my sales lab company is one of the core values, and I think it's number 1 on our mission statement. If I go back and look, I haven't read it in so long, but it says, telling isn't selling. And that's so true. You guys have heard me say this over and over, but what does that mean specifically? Telling isn't selling means every time I want to shout out of my mouth, and I'm just reading a couple names off the screen: Monica, Tara, Georgetta, I think my service would help you do this, right? Anytime I want to scream, you need my product, my service, my solution to get your result, that is wrong. That's the wrong way to go about selling. As you're telling, generally speaking, again, high-level salespeople can do this a little better, but generally speaking, every time you're telling or trying to convince or trying to persuade, you're actually creating a little more and more sales resistance. The average person doesn't want to be told what to do, and they don't want to listen to some salesperson that has an outcome to collect 3 or 4 or 5 grand from them at the end of the call. What can we do, and what do I do very well, and build into all my sales processes and frameworks? I ask the question so they come to that conclusion themselves, and they say to me on the call, damn right, I need Audience Lab software if I want to solve this problem. Now, when it comes out of their mouth, such a different impact than coming out of my mouth as a sales rep. So that's what you got to get comfortable with, the formula and kind of the framework that goes into that. And I'm going to lay that out for you here. And we've all heard these, bridge statements, right? Where you kind of show somebody, hey, you're on one side of the bridge. To get to the other side, you have to do this. And I've already got the proven bridge that thousands of people have crossed, right? So I'll tie that back in. I think everybody's kind of heard of that analogy, whether it's the bridge, whether it's the destination. Hey, you're at location A, location B. I have the vehicle that gets you from A to B and does it in the shortest time. And the way you present what I call agreement analogies is by asking questions and getting them to draw their own conclusions. So in their mind, it's not you telling them, they're already telling themselves, shoot, I need to make a decision. Shoot, I need to make an investment. Shoot, I need to solve this problem yesterday and not 6 months from now. And again, I think I've only brought up this analogy in this example, and I've seen 2 other I guess sales trainers or gurus use this guy as an example. I'm surprised I haven't seen it by more people, to be honest with you. But I've only made this reference and this example in one other workshop that I can recall. I don't know if anybody on this call was on that or remembers the name Ben Feldman. If nobody's familiar with the name Ben Feldman, in the 70s, approximately, might have been in the 60s and a little in the 80s, but the 70s when he did the most of his damage, because I know by 1979, he was the #1 insurance salesman in the world. And he was a one-man show, although working for a big, I want to say he was working for New York Life Insurance, if I'm not mistaken. You can all fact check me on that. Might have been a different firm, but I believe that was it. And his style wasn't making cold calls. It wasn't doing more work than every rep. And he, by the end of the 70s, before the 80s even hit, Ben Feldman had already collected over $1 million in commissions from life insurance. So think about the amount of policies you have to write to collect over $1 million in commissions, and think of $1 million in the 70s as opposed to now. He did a lot of business. How did he do this? He did this primarily in person with what he used his two, I want to say it was a 2-sentence analogy agreement, which was a sentence followed by a question. And this is what he would do. Let's say he went to the elevator of a very nice, office building in New York. He's riding up the elevator with a couple executives or businessmen, and he would just introduce himself and shake their hand and say, hey, man, I'm always just trying to gather data, and I'm curious picking people's brains. Is it cool if I ask you one question that'll really help me, get some data for my business? Yeah, Ben, go ahead. Ask me a question, whatever. Hey, if you had, let's just imagine this make-believe money printing machine in your basement right now that set you up for life, would you insure it? Well, yeah, Ben, I would. That's great. So would I. So let me ask you, are you the money printing machine for your company? I mean, sorry, for your family? And they would just sit back and shut up. They already made the analogy in their head. They just think about it for a minute. Yeah, he's right. I am the money printing machine. I'm the one at work right now. I'm the one getting a paycheck and providing for my family. So that being said, Bob, do you have life insurance and are you insured? Well, no, I'm not. Wouldn't it make sense to get a policy? And then boom, that was his whole thing. He would just, if you have this money making machine, would you insure it? Everybody answers yes. So are you that for your family? Yes, I am. Do you have a policy? Well, that just defies your logic, what you just told me. And then they've kind of, in their own head, they're in kind of a conundrum back and forth with themselves, saying, "Damn, no matter what I say next, this guy's right. I'd be an idiot not to get a policy." And then they would actually, he barely ever even pitched. They would ask him, "Yeah, you're right. Do you know where I can get a good policy?" Oh, matter of fact, I'm actually in insurance sales for New York Life. I can probably get you the best policy for the dollar and get you signed up and enrolled today. So he didn't really pitch hard. He barely ever had to pitch. Most people were asking him after his analogy statement, and then that one follow-up question, are you that for your family? It bridged that gap. So that's a great little exercise. I'm going to go over 1 or 2 other analogy agreements and give you guys some examples that I jotted down earlier today that I think are also relevant. That was the one that I saw that one just stuck with me the most, and I saw the most past history and track record from one individual selling one product, doing it, I would say, kind of in a non-conventional manner that sold more life insurance policies than any big insurance rep on Wall Street or in New York City. So that was a great one, right? There's another one that's called like the expert's fee analogy, right? And it goes something like this. Um, it's normally when somebody says, "Hey, your prices are too much. Hey, I can find this cheaper elsewhere," right? I think we've all got that at some point or another, whether selling DaaS, whether a different offer, whatever. And the great kind of analogy there is like, "Hey, Bob, when your pipe bursts at 2 a.m., do you call the cheapest plumber or the one that can fix it right away?" And he's going to say the one that can write it one right away. So you're calling the expert that charges more because they solve a problem faster and better, right? That's the difference between struggling with a problem or waiting to get it solved and investing in getting this thing fixed right now. So that's a great one. And then, you could just kind of follow that up with saying, well, doesn't the same thing apply when you're talking about my data solution right now? I mean, do you want to find a cheaper data solution that's not as historically accurate and doesn't deliver as good of results? Or do you want the most historical accuracy data that you can bet into your campaigns tomorrow and see results? Right. So, yeah, maybe you're paying a little more for my data, but it's solving the problem better and faster. And didn't you just tell me that's what you would do if a pipe burst? Right. So anything we can do where we're using common analogies that almost anybody can relate to. Right. They can either picture themselves in the future owning a home and a pipe bursting, or I guarantee you some people we talk to would actually have this happen in the past. So anytime we can go into somebody's past experience, or we can future pace them to a common scenario that they're likely to encounter, they make that correlation much, much better to your analogy, right? That's why when I jotted these down or looked for some examples of these, I tried to use pretty mainstream ones. There's another one, and that's why I talked about earlier the bridge statement. There's what's called the bridge analogy, right? Which we could use this in a number of different manners. I jotted down this one. If you needed to cross a river, would you rather use a sturdy bridge that thousands have crossed safely, or build your own from scratch, Bob? Right. And then he's going to say, Ray, I would rather take the bridge that thousands have crossed safely. It'd be a pain. I don't even know if I could build one myself. Great. And I know that's an analogy that's kind of far fetched, Bob, but my product or method, right? Let's say my data is that proven bridge that's already helped thousands of business owners drop their cost per lead and get and increase their acquisition. Or very simply, even if we want to use this in a more general statement, my product and my service is the proven bridge that has helped thousands of people get from where you are right now, Bob, to where you want to be. And they've crossed that bridge using my platform. Why wouldn't you do the same thing and cross the same bridge they have? Then again, sit back and shut up. Anytime you ask those questions, make sure you give time for them to talk. That's one thing I notice when I audit sales calls, and I'm even guilty of occasion myself. I'm much more cognizant of it, but I do it. I wouldn't lie and say I've never done this. But you got to be very, especially when you're asking those powerful questions, even if you already know the answer you're going to get, which is usually, if I'm ever asking those type of questions, I kind of already know the answer I'm going to get, but I want to sit back and shut up and I want him to say it. And then I'm going to say, I agree, Bob. I'm glad you drew that conclusion because it doesn't really matter what I say. It only matters what you think about solving this problem and growing your business. Would you agree with that? And he's going to come back and say, yeah, it really only does matter what I think, right? And then we also have the shortcut analogy, which is another good one. And this is when people are talking more about, hey, I found a cheaper solution, but they don't promise me results for 90 to 180 days or whatever, right? And you would say to them, oh, I totally get what you're saying. So you're looking at a cheaper solution, although it might take a little longer to get the result. That seems, excuse me, that seems kind of counterproductive, Bob, because let's just say you were driving to an important meeting and your GPS showed you a shortcut that would save 30 minutes. Would you take it? But yeah, Ray, I would take the shortcut. I'd want to make sure I get there early and look good. Great. Well, Audience Lab and again, you guys don't use Audience Lab, right? You use your own company name or data, but Audience Lab is the product that is that shortcut to your desired outcome. If you get enrolled with me today, I can have a list over to you within the next 72 hours, likely even sooner, embed it into your marketing campaign by the next day, and you're seeing more profitable ads before next week. So do you want to wait 90 or 180 days to see the results, or do you want to start seeing some next week, Bob? Sit back and shut up again, right? So hopefully you guys are seeing the common pattern here, right? What I'm doing in every single one of these is the same four things, and I'm just going to break it down for you in case, and you guys are probably picking up on it, but I'll just, enunciate in very simple verbiage. Number one, I'm identifying a core value with each of them, right? A core value. Would you shorten this? Would you want to get results faster? Would you want to solve this problem? Whatever. I'm finding a core value, which obviously correlates to the primary problem we solve or the primary solution that we provide. Then I find a parallel situation. I just elaborated on this. All of these are very common situations that all of us either have come across or will likely, or at least can conceivably see ourselves coming across. I think you guys would all agree. These aren't crazy analogies that 1 in 100 person faces. These are pretty common. So I find a parallel situation. And then I ask a question where there's only two answers. There's the kind of BS out answer of, hey, I want to stay having this problem and I don't want to get it solved. Or there's the obvious answer, which every one of these analogies, yes, I would take the shortcut. Yes, I would insure the money making machine, right? So there's like an obvious answer or a kind of outlandish answer that really says, I'm not looking to actually solve this problem. And if that's the case, I would rather them say that to me earlier in the conversation and say, hey, I only work with people that are serious about growth and scale. And since that's not a priority for you right now, Bob, and you're kind of complacent and content where you're at in your business, we're probably not a great fit to work together. If it's ever a priority to grow and scale and you're really focusing on it, reach back out to me, right? So it's very rare we're going to get people to take that what I would call out answer, where I can just say, yeah, Ray, I don't want the obvious answer and I don't want to solve this problem. That's great. Disqualify and move on, because we really only want to work with people that are serious about solving the problem, growing their business, scaling, what have you, right? So number one, identify the core value. Number two, find a parallel situation that's common. Number three, phrase it as a question. And then number four, the last thing I'm doing every time is bridge the gap. Okay, great. So you would take that shortcut. That being said, my product is that shortcut. Why aren't you taking this one? And why do you want the long path now, Bob? Right? So that's the same formula and the same framework I'm doing over and over again. I'm going to save the last section of this just because I want to. Actually, we don't have a ton of people on. I'll go through this pretty quickly. There's one more thing I kind of want to cover here today that I think is pretty cool and valuable. I don't know if it's as applicable to everybody here, but everybody can do this. Just will they, or are they going to? No, I know not everybody will. But a four-step process to myself having some success, and something I built out for a lot of my private clients in my PDocs brand, also in my sales lab company. I can't say I've done this. Well, I can think of 4 or 5 people in Audience Lab I've helped build this out, but I can't say I've done this like at scale or in the masses with Audience Lab. And probably because I've never taught it or never brought it to many people's attention. I think the Audience Lab clients I've worked with in this capacity has been more of a one-on-one thing where I was like, hey, this would probably work for you because I've had some success with this. But a 4-step process you can do to making more sales and more money and every time. Actually, when I broke this down and went through this, you guys might have seen, I don't know, was it a month ago or so? I put out a video in school where I was breaking down that historic Alex Hormozi event where he did over, 100 million in sales in one day, right? And I broke everything down. I didn't use this yet, and I didn't break down what I'm going to discuss today, but he used this exact same process that I've used, that some of my other clients have used, that one other mentor and coach of mine in the past taught me maybe 3 years ago, and then I've had some success with. But when I went back, even after watching my video and watching, Alex's stuff within the following days after that, I realized, like, shit, how did I not put that together when I was filming that video? And maybe it's because I wasn't putting this lesson together. It wasn't at the forefront of my mind. But number one is, in this 4-step process, to have a free community. So I think back in the day, and where I first started and did this, I know myself, but I think this was more effective back in the day, Facebook groups. I'm not going to say they're dead, but they're dying as opposed to where they were 3-4 years ago. If I was doing this now from scratch, and the way we do it now, and this will all tie together, you guys will see this in some of Audience Lab. I personally think school communities work better than Facebook nowadays, but it can work anywhere. The platform is kind of irrelevant. You just need to pick where you have a bigger following, or which platform is more relevant, or which one delivers better results and easier use, all those type of stuff. So don't put too much onus or emphasis on the platform, but having a free community where you can deliver value. And then what you do is a one-to-many presentation, right? So you can do this a number of ways. The way I've had the most success is getting a Zoom call and running some type of free workshop, right? So again, at this point, this is no money received. Now, I want to sidebar a little. It can be a no money received. I've also done this with paid presentations where I get people to a $97 or $197 3-day masterclass or 5-day challenge or whatever. So it doesn't always have to be free. However you set this up, I'm actually working with one of my private clients now who has an investing offer, best practices to start your portfolio and invest with confidence that you're always going to see an ROI and not kind of blow your wad, for lack of a better phrase. He's building out a paid presentation in this process. He doesn't want to do a free one, and it totally makes sense, and it's going to work very, very well. But free community to some type of one-to-many presentation, whether paid or free. So Alex is, again, I made the analogy, Alex did this. His free community, I would say, is a little more spread out, right? Alex has built his brand and his following over YouTube, over Instagram. So he had a few different outlets. That's great. Doesn't matter if you have one or you have many. He's still using his free community and his organic social media traffic to ultimately pitch this, come to my, what the hell was that last, I don't know why it's not coming to the Money Models. Come to my Money Models event. It's going to be revolutionary and yada, yada, yada. He did a free event, right? So he also, as some people might know, he set the Guinness Book of World Records for most people attending a live training online digital workshop or masterclass ever in history. So obviously, you're probably not going to get the largest ever if you do a paid event. He can get a lot more people to that free event. And then what does he do? What do we all do next? Number one, free community. Number two, a one-to-many event, however, masterclass, webinar, Zoom presentation, workshop, whatever. Then to a very simple, solid offer. For instance, Monica, you led off this call asking my one simple offer. So I run a masterclass talking about the advantages to enhance targeting using in-market first-party data. I talk about the alternative and the pitfalls and the rising costs with Facebook's either two options, right? Some of you guys may or may not know. I cover this a lot in my verbiage. Oh, somebody's in the waiting room. I don't know how long they've been sitting there. Sorry. But I cover this a lot in my verbiage sorry. Now I just got sidetracked on where I was going with that. Oh yeah, the simple offer. So again, what I might do is just make a quick little analogy and then talk about the problem we solve. Again, in this like workshop setting, we talk about the in-market audiences. We talk about within Facebook, we can really only tick the box that says, let Facebook find my ideal audience and put some of our budget into a testing phase while Facebook's trying to figure it out. Or we can go in and use Facebook's in-platform native targeting, which you might not know, audience, right? Let's just say I'm doing a workshop, that they only have 5 parameters now. So you can have Facebook take some of your budget, test it. And in those first couple months, while you're putting money into your testing phase, number one, not all of your budget is going into marketing. I mean, into your advertising, it's going into testing. Number two, while they're testing, you're going to get a lower quality and quantity audience, meaning people that are be booking a call with you might not even be the right fit because Facebook's still trying to figure out. Or, guys, we could eliminate and circumvent all those crappy things about Facebook, wasting your budget, only having 5 targeting parameters, and we can use my solution in market, first party, intent driven data. So we know before we even loop this into your ad platform or your ad manager, we already have a pre-existing winning audience of your ideal client. What's a better solution for you going forward? Oh, I agree. It's using the targeting in-market audience that you know is a winner before you ever used it. So what if I could give you that audience for a mere $750 today? You walk away with that audience, go embed it into your campaign, and come back and tell me when you've made 5 or 6 figures with it, right? So very simply, that's the type of message and structure I would do, Monica, on a very little simple $750 buy an audience from me offer. I would talk about the mainstream problems, the mainstream way of doing it right now within Facebook, the pitfalls or downfalls of that. Now, alternatively, my solution, which one's better for you guys? Type it in the chat. Everybody's going to be saying the same thing. And what this also kind of predicates on that I skipped over is the herd mentality. So as you guys know, and Alex did this great in his presentation, the more we're on a live workshop presentation, even somebody's website, what do a lot of websites do now? Hey, Bob just bought this product 2 minutes ago. Susie bought 6 minutes ago. And the more people that are doing it, human nature is if everybody else is buying, so am I. So same thing when you're on one of these live workshops, when they see other people typing in the chat, yes, Ray, I want that solution. Yes, I want that audience. Yes, I want that offer. Then the other people that might have been doubtful or skeptical are like, shit, 10 other people are buying. I'm probably an idiot not to. Yes, I'll buy. So it plays into the herd mentality and human nature very, very well. And then lastly, the last part of this, I'll go over the first 3 again. Free community, a one-to-many type of presentation. Again, I gave you a few ways, a very simple offer. And then once somebody buys, I take them into a paid community. And as you see, at Audience Lab, we have a free school community. And then once you buy, you get in our private members school where there's a lot more perks, a lot more content, a lot more work, just a lot more, right? So, and when I do that, the one kicker to this that's always driving more people back to my free community and always getting more people from the free community to either attend my one-to-many workshop and or make a purchase is everybody that buys. And I haven't done this in a little while, so I'm kind of kicking myself for going away from this. But when I'm talking about back when I did this with my first Facebook group or one of my early Facebook groups, drove people to a workshop, made a simple offer, got a lot of buyers. Then I told everybody that bought, hey, to get access to the new community, just go back in my free community that you're already a member and go say, I bought X, Y, and Z today and give me your first and last name. So now every other person in my free community is seeing 10, 20, 30 people go in the free community and say, hey, I bought Ray's audience today. Hey, I bought Ray's PDocs program. Hey, I bought Ray's Sales Lab masterclass worksheet, whatever it is. And now that FOMO And that herd mentality, again, picks up in the free group, and more of them jump into your next event, or more of them literally just start reaching out to you. That's how to go from irrelevant to in demand. Is now they're seeing 10 other people say, I bought Ray's stuff. You might just get direct messages. Hey, Ray, I'm in your free community. Now I saw 10 people talking about this today. I missed the workshop, but what's the offer? I kind of want to buy it, right? And you just get direct messages from people that want to buy. So again, very, very effective, relatively simple formula that doesn't need a whole ton of foundations. You don't need a whole big team. When I started doing this, there was just me and one business partner, no VAs, no paid ads even at the time. We did this all organically, and we made like $47,000 in a 3-day. This was a 3-day event that we did. But by the time we tallied everything up, I mean, I don't know. Even today, I'd be very happy with $47,000 in 3 days. I was kind of, shitting a brick, for lack of a better phrase, back when it was my first one. I thought we might make 10 grand on the event. We turned 47K in sales in about 3 days. So again, and then it just drove into more sales and more events because everybody was going back to my free community and saying, yeah, I just bought. And that was the one prerequisite they had to do to get access to their new paid stuff. It was really, really brilliant. So again, I covered a real lot here today. And as I say every week, guys, I always post this replay, and I'll just share real quick. I always post this replay every single week into, oh, wrong browser. 1 second. Our paid school community, right? Here's our homepage when you log in and what it looks like. Now on these tabs right here, just go to click more, go to sales, and every week this recording, if you guys want to watch the replay or want to check out a previous workshop from last week or 2 weeks ago, and again, 7 days ago, today's workshop recording. Today's 7 days later, this one will be posted in here by the end of the day. So if anybody wants to watch this back, miss something, I talk really fast, all that, the recording will be there before end of business day today. And lastly, because I covered a lot and I kind of want to stop and take a breath, let me just ask you guys, I know Monica started off with a question and why she hopped on the call, and we answered that before we dove into today's lesson. But does anyone have any other questions that they want asked either about today's lesson? And, whether you have a question or even a takeaway, something that you thought was brilliant and you're going to implement, I'd love to hear any feedback. If anyone has anything for me, type a 1 in the chat and I will call on you. That way, 2 or 3 people aren't talking at once. I would love to hear from anybody with questions, feedback, thoughts, takeaways, or maybe you're just so mind blowing and your brain's going in so many directions you can't even think enough to give me a question or a compliment right now. But yeah, I think those are all really powerful things and things I've kind of always used in my business, but never broke them down in that kind of simple framework, like the telling isn't selling thing, the agreement analogy and the bridge statement, or the 4-step process with free community to ultimately collecting, in my case, 47 grand just out of a Facebook group and a couple guys doing organic outreach. And again, just to give you guys a little tiny bit more context, thank you for saying a little tiny more context. How I did that back in the day might be a little different, but I think I would still do it very similar. But if I got people even in my free group, I guess that would be the most common question I got when I run through that little analogy. Is I spent a lot of times, and any of you guys that have been working with me for years or worked with me in PDocs, I made my first million organically using Facebook DMs and Facebook groups. I was somewhat of a Facebook group guru outside of my own Facebook group, meaning I was going in other groups where my ideal audience was, and I was just delivering value and answering questions. And I would do that for 3-4 hours a day. Then when people would pick my brain and say, hey, Ray, we'd love that, or that's a great answer, they would click on my profile and the link right in my profile would say, hey, check out my free Facebook group. So just by happenstance, I don't want to say happenstance, I thought it through, but in their mind, hey, Ray came and answered my question in the digital marketing secrets group or whatever, right? They click on my profile to check me out more. They see my free group. They're like, this guy was pretty smart. Let me check out his group, right? So that was one way. The other way would be they would just see me always posting. They would start to refer me. So I would always be posting in there with solutions, with help, just giving value. And then someone else would post tomorrow with a problem. Hey, my cost per lead and acquisition is too high. You guys have any tips for me? And then they would say, hey, go speak to Ray. Ray's always in here answering questions. I think he can help you with this. So yeah, really, really powerful. Cool. Well, thank you for the feedback there, Georgetta, Danielle, Monica. Appreciate it. Love the idea of having people go, yeah, that one's brilliant. And I said, I'm kind of kicking myself, Danielle, because I just went away from that recently. The last couple of times I did this, I didn't make that part of it. And I kind of kicking myself for it. And I just remembered that today. I was like, why didn't I do that recently? Because I used to have so much success with that. Drives more people to your group, drives more initial buyers, and gets people just reaching directly out to you saying, hey, I'd love to hear from you. So then, Monica, you sent me a DM directly, which I won't read because you sent to me directly, but awesome. Thank you for the compliment. Yes, I will send you directly what you had asked for there as well, 100%. Yep, will do. I understand. Yeah, I gave you a lot of messaging ideas and I broke down a lot of stuff. So, yeah, I'll send you over the full transcript. That way you can break it down, copy and paste out the word tracks you like, and then go refine them a little. Because, again, I was just kind of off the top of the head. You can, off the cuff or off the top of my head, right? You could probably refine those and even make those a little stronger than I put out here today. But I think I gave you the general crux of how to keep simple messaging, a simple offer, solving a main problem, and you being the expert that they go to. And if we can do that, that's going to help you get that quick win that you needed like yesterday, right? So awesome. Well, thank you guys, everybody. Danielle, I can see that working. Yeah, LinkedIn live streams is that's a great platform for it where we crush. You're 100% right. And again, the reason I gave that little sidebar about Facebook groups, I don't know. Again, I haven't done it in a Facebook group in a couple of years. What I've seen in Facebook group trends over the last 2 years, I don't think Facebook's as strong to do that in and have as much success as I did a few years ago, which I think LinkedIn is. I think LinkedIn is where Facebook was a couple years ago for this type of content. And I think school is either in addition to or in, maybe replacement of using LinkedIn. I think school is another good one. But I mean, there's other ones too, right? Discord has some great free communities where you can also do paid and send people. So it really depends, what software or what platform are you already comfortable with? Are you already on? You already paying for? All those type of things. But yeah, you nailed that. LinkedIn would certainly be a great platform for that strategy and that approach. 100%. Alrighty, guys, I don't see any other questions or comments. So with, less than 5 minutes to go, we will end it for today. And I will have that replay posted later. And Monica, I will send you over the full transcript as well as you had asked. So thank you, everybody, for your feedback, questions, words of encouragement, and hopefully everybody, as I say to these, at least pick one thing that I covered today that you can take away. Is it asking better questions? Is it sitting back and listening when I asked? Is it really getting that core value or that bridge statement dialed in? But pick out one thing that you can go perfect and refine and go make that adjustment in your business. So I'm not just talking, but it's actually turning into implementation and execution, because anything I say is never going to get results until we go implement and execute on it. So I challenge you guys to do that with at least one thing from today's workshop. And we will see you guys all next week. Thank you again for your time. Bye-bye now.